The animation test, or next time on For the Owl House, was recently uploaded onto YouTube, and it provides an interesting look into some early concepts for the series, with a slightly different art style. And King had a different backstory, Willow had a different name, magic and glyphs used to work in a completely different fashion, and the show had a darker vibe. Since the series is wrapping up, I thought it would be nice to take a look at where it all began. But before we begin, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Also peep Toon Drip, link in the description. Although a lot of people are calling this the pilot, it's actually called a next time on. Nothing here was actually in the pilot. The start of this test is similar to the start of Witches Before Wizards, the second episode of the series, but with a key difference. Whereas in the show, Ida is supportive of Luce's endeavors to become a witch, but wants her to recognize it takes time, Ida dismisses Luce's ambitions entirely, or at the very least, rejecting the notion of becoming her mentor, and she has to be talked into it, addressing to Luce that humans don't have magical powers. This kinda implies that there could have been a different dynamic between Ida and Luce from what we got in season 1. At the end of A Lying Witch and a Warden, Luce and Ida came to an agreement that if Luce worked for Ida would teach Luce how to be a witch. And at this point, Luce still had access to the human realm, since they still had the portal. But if Ida wasn't willing to teach Luce at first, why was Luce staying at the Owl House in the first place? What makes the most sense to me is that Luce being stranded in the demon realm was a plot point that originally came much sooner, like maybe the first episode. And Ida, feeling responsible, took Luce in while they searched for a way to get her back home, which would have led to them bonding and Ida warming up to having a kid in the house. We all know how the art goes. Should this be the case, I'm definitely glad they went with Luce staying in the demon realm of her own accord, and sacrificing her ticket home to stop Bellows from hurting her new friends and family. Immediately after the scene, we get a pretty big difference with King's character. Of course, the first thing you'll notice is that he looks different, with an orange body, red and blue eyes, and zero fur on his head. He looks a bit scary instead of cute. But also, according to Luce, he used to know magic. A line that got me thinking King would have originally had a full-blown amnesia storyline, and that he could have cast spells like everyone else, but somehow lost that talent along the way. You can see this idea kinda evolve and carry over into the first episode, as they try to mislead us with the idea that King used to be a really powerful leader, but as soon as he gets his paper crown, you start to get the idea that he's just a kid playing pretend. Next, we see that he tries to teach Luce magic by instructing her to inhale and channel her repressed anger into an attack, but he gets lost in his own baggage. It gives me the vibe that they always plan on giving him shouting powers, but had the patience to hold off on it until the second season, which I think was for the best, as it gave us the banger of an episode that is knock knock knocking on Hootie's door. I also would have loved to see King's eyes glow whenever he got angry. There's a few changes in this next scene, as we're introduced to Beta Willow, who here is named Paulina. It's not a bad name for her, it's just so normal. Willow fits so well because we associate the name with trees, and Willow excels in plant magic. I just really wanted to highlight this because it goes to show how literally anything in a show can change in development, even the names. But her design really didn't change much aside from the art style adjusting. She wears this exact outfit in season 1, though something that's really different is that Willow actually used a broken wand to cast her spells instead of the spell circles. And I assume that would have been the case for at least the Hexite students, if not witches in general. Magic also seemed to be represented with surges of electricity through a witch's hand. And although Willow's is green, I'm not sure tracks and covens originally existed, as not only does she combine her and Luce's hands together, but she also changes Luce's appearance multiple times, something that in the show, we would assume is illusion magic. Maybe Hexite originally allowed students to be in multiple tracks. Maybe they just haven't figured it all out yet. We do see Willow actually tending to plants while Luce is getting attacked by one in the background. I do think ditching the wands and simplifying the whole thing to spell circles and covens was for the best, as the magic system in the show was pretty easy to follow, while providing enough variety in spells to keep it interesting. We actually see a prototype for glyphs at the end of this test that seemed to be way more complicated than just drawing a symbol on a surface. In this case, the glyph enlarged a tiny baby bird. And again, I'm glad this series is a lot more straightforward while still having its own complexities. Next up, we see Luce search for a legendary wizard named William. reading a piece of paper that looks like it was torn out of a book. Luz could have had something similar to Philip Winterbane's journal that she used as her guide to become a witch, but it makes sense they'd scrap this idea since it's a little similar to Gravity Falls, and Luz ends up teaching herself while also attending Hexside in the show. Luz finds Sir William in a deep slumber, as if it was Sleeping Beauty, but instead of leaning in for a kiss, she slaps him wide awake, a joke that would become iconic within the series, as it was recreated with Hunter in Hunting Talisman. After Ida finally caves into Luz, she warns her that magic is dangerous, to which Luz retorts,
"How hard could it be?"
taking us into an epic, fast-paced montage. The Titan skull originally looked a lot more like King's, and it didn't have as much of a creepy vibe to it. Ida used to run her shop from the Isles itself, as opposed to a booth in the town's market, which again takes me back to Gravity Falls and the Mystery Shack. Pilot Ida even has signs pointing to the house. Cheating into the town market held Bonesboro feel a bit more fleshed out, while also contributing to the series' own identity. The architecture of Bonesboro looks a lot different here, but I think I prefer the medieval look in the series proper. Also, the eye-shaped window of the Owl House used to blink. And what has to be the coolest looking shot in this entire thing, we have what could have been a prototype for Emperor Bellows take Ida hostage as Luz wields Ida's staff and saves the day. Like most animation tests, I do think the art style does stand out a bit more from the final product, as it leans more into a graphic novel brought to life approach, with sharper edges, variety in how eyes are drawn, and other little details. But it's obvious they simplify things for the sake of working with a TV budget in the 2020s. And I think the main series still looks pretty good. If there's one thing I do wish we got more of in the show that's present in the pilot, it's the tone. A lot of these scenes have more of a horror vibe, but I think the lighter tone we got in the show just boils down to S&P getting more strict over the years. At the end of the day, the team behind the Owl House made the best version of the show possible with what they had to work with. And I think seeing that the core of the show was more or less the same throughout development says a lot about the vision Dana Terrace had, that this was a story she was genuinely excited to tell. The fact we're now so close to the finish line is wild. It feels just like yesterday the show premiered. So to get a glimpse at its origins definitely threw me for a loop. As always, I want to know what you guys think, so share your thoughts on the pilot and all the major changes in the comments down below. And again, if you enjoyed this video, it'd be groovy if you gave it a like and subscribe to the channel. Maybe hit that notification bell. Give us a follow on Twitter and Insta at Roundtable Vids, and you can find me at Offshock Vox. Thanks for watching, Kings and Queens. I'll talk to you later. Peace!